The last transmission. Prologue. The message arrived at 3:47 Galactic Standard Time. A looping distress call from Vesper-9, a deep space colony orbiting a distant red dwarf. This is Colony Vesper-9. Do not come. We have static it sees. It learns. We are all ready. Silence. Then the signal cut off. Chapter 1. Ghost Colony. Captain Elias Rourke watched the playback one last time before shutting off the console. The Ocelot had been en route to a neighboring system when the distress call was intercepted. Protocol dictated they investigate. Their ship dropped out of FTL just outside Vesper-9's orbit. The colony floated beneath them, artificial lights flickering against the darkness of space. From the cockpit, Rourke could see the sprawling structure, dormitories, research labs, hydroponic farms. But no signs of movement. Where are they? Lieutenant Mara Vasquez murmured. Rourke exhaled. Let's find out. Chapter 2. Silence. The landing bay door stood open, as if waiting for them. No security checks. No response to their hails. The Ocelot's crew, Rourke, Vasquez, Engineer Wilcade, and medic Dr. Evelyn Shaw, stepped onto the cold metal floor. Their boots echoed in the stillness. They split up. Vasquez checked the control panels. Cade powered up the colony's main systems. Shaw examined the living quarters. The place was abandoned, yet everything was intact. Food sat half-eaten on tables. Clothes hung in closets. A cup of coffee, long cold, rested beside a still-glowing datapad. It was as if the colonists had simply vanished mid-task. Then Cade's voice crackled over the comms. You need to see this. Chapter 3. The Signal. In the main research lab, Cade pointed at a terminal. The screen flickered with static and logs from the last few weeks. The scientists had intercepted something, an unknown transmission from deep space. Dr. Shaw skimmed the notes. They tried decoding it, but she frowned. It changed every time they ran it, as if it was rewriting itself. Rourke played an audio file. A low hum filled the room, followed by a whispering voice that twisted and fragmented. Vasquez's hand tightened on her weapon. Turn it off. Rourke obeyed, but the unease remained. The log showed that, days after receiving the transmission, colonists reported strange dreams. Hallucinations. Then they stopped logging anything at all. What happened to them? Shaw whispered. Cade scanned further. Wait, here's a video feed from the main square. He tapped the screen. The last recording showed colonists gathering in silence, eyes staring up at nothing. One by one, they walked out of frame. No sound. No panic. Just leaving. And then the screen went dark. Chapter 4. It sees. A noise echoed in the distance. A faint clicking. Not mechanical. Not human. We need to leave, Vasquez said, hand on her pistol. Then the lights flickered. The humming returned, no longer from the speakers, but vibrating through the walls, the floors, the air itself. Shaw clutched her head. Do you hear that? Cade's breathing hitched. It's in my head. Rourke grabbed his arm. Cade. Look at me. But Cade's eyes had glazed over, lips moving as if repeating something unheard. Then, without warning, he turned and walked away. Cade. Rourke ran after him. They followed him down a corridor, through an airlock, and out onto the surface of Vesper-9. There, in the dim light of the red dwarf star, they saw them. The missing colonists stood in formation at the edge of a crater, staring into the abyss below. Motionless. Waiting. Then Cade joined them. Chapter 5. The Last Transmission. Vasquez raised her rifle. Cade. Move. But he didn't react. Rourke stepped forward, trying to shake him. Cade, snap out of it. Cade turned. His mouth moved, forming words that weren't his own. It sees. It learns. We are all ready. Then his body convulsed and he collapsed. The humming intensified. The ground beneath them trembled. The crater pulsed with a sickly blue light. We have to go. Now, Vasquez shouted. They grabbed Cade's lifeless body and ran, forcing themselves back toward the ship as the air filled with whispers, not from speakers, not from radios, but from within their own minds. As the Ocelot lifted off, Rourke stole one last glance at the surface. The colonists were still standing there, heads tilted toward the sky, waiting, listening. Then the comms flared to life. "This is Colony Vesper-9. Do not come. It sees. It learns. We are all ready." The same transmission. The same words. Only now it was Cade's voice. Epilogue. Rourke shut off the console. The ship was en route to the nearest station, but the silence in the cabin was deafening. Vasquez sat with her head in her hands. Shaw stared at Cade's empty bunk. Then, softly, the humming began again. From inside the ship,